Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and it's finally time to talk PoE. The new league has been announced, and I thought I'd make a video sharing with you guys why I am excited. In addition to that, we'll do a quick TLDR, but if you haven't already, definitely go check out the trailer. Chris does a pretty good job of explaining the league himself. It's over here on the main PoE website, definitely go check it out. But here, I'm going to share with you guys all of my insights as well as why I'm excited. So to kick things off, let's talk about the potential of the league. But first, how does it work? Okay, so in every map, we are going to get a Crucible, which is essentially a forge, which when you interact with, you'll be able to place or select an item that you have equipped. Now, these items can only be weapons or shields, so no quivers, weapons or shields. And you can slap that in there and you can get to cook it. Now, when you've got that option to cook though, you can choose how long you want to cook it for. The longer you cook it, the more difficult the encounter will be, but the more experience you'll get in the cook. And we'll talk about that in a second here. It's fair to say that most people are going to be cooking for the maximum time, pretty much as soon as they get off their league starter. But when you're on your league starter, you may not want to cook for the maximum time, but overall, long term, you're going to be maxing that baby out, maximum cooking. But okay, so what are you cooking for though? Why are you doing that? Well, when you put that weapon in there and you forge it, you put it in the oven, well, you're going to be unlocking what's called a Crucible Tree. So the weapons we know and love right now, they have nothing like this on them. So when you find a weapon in the world, it's basically going to be the same as you're used to. But as soon as you stick it in the Crucible, the first cook will unlock a Crucible Tree. And that's basically what this is here. And a Crucible Tree has a number of nodes on it. It looks like it can have, from what we've seen so far, a maximum of 5 nodes. And depending on how much you cook, you will unlock one or even multiple nodes along this tree. As you get deeper and deeper into the tree, the nodes become more and more powerful. Now, if you don't get all the way through your entire tree on the first cook, you can cook that same weapon again and again and again and again to unlock more and more nodes on the weapon. And you really get to that end of that tree. But now, okay, so how do is every tree the same? What about the bow tree versus a dagger tree versus a sword tree versus a shield tree? Well, every weapon base seems to have their own specific nodes that can spawn. But the catch is that every single tree is randomly generated. So if you have 5 bows and you cook them all, they'll all have completely different trees, which means you're going to be doing a whole lot of cooking. So you're going to have to find the best weapon base you can to cook it up and then check the tree and see if it's any good and see if it's got any potential for your character. And if it does, well, then you can fully cook that bad boy and get all the way to the end of the tree. Now, this has massive potential due to how powerful they have made the Crucible Trees. Now, I want to cover a few of the things I'm most excited about on these trees, as I really do think it has the potential to shake up mid and end game builds. Now, league starters, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to have too much impact on them because we're having to plan our league starters basically right now, and you can't really factor in any of these crazy trees into what your league starter is going to be. It's kind of going to be like a, what did I get kind of deal on the day. So it's not going to mix up and, shuffle around the league start experience, but I imagine second and third builds are going to be really, really impacted by these Crucible Trees. At least I hope so. All right, so let's take a look and see what you can get on these bad boy trees. Well, first things first, let's take a look at the support gem option. Well, you can get a node which essentially adds a support gem to whatever is socketed in your weapon. Now, this is pretty damn insane if you do ask me. Not the one shown here, but the potential. So this one here gives you level 10 multiple projectiles. Okay, I'm not losing my mind over that, but what if it was level 10 inspiration or level 10 fortify or anything like that, a more multiplier to your main damaging links? What if that increased AoE or any of that? Like, oh my god, that is pretty damn strong. There is big potential here for some good juice. Now, overall, you can also get this on a one-handed weapon. But why would I want to socket something into a one-handed weapon, especially my main links? Well, what about the Squire? Well, you can get a socket on one, so you get a 4 link there, and you get the Squire, get a 4 link there by using your trees. And that is pretty cool. You got an 8 link there, not too bad. But you can also get, like modifiers and weapons which give links as well. So yeah, there is some big potential to be sure with just this type of modifier modify depending on what we get. Now you can also get notables from the tree on these trees as well. Now this is basically a free anointment. Now it seems like they're themed around the weapon that they are on. So you can see here that this is a bow and it has bow nodes. So maybe you can't get anything too insane, but what if you could get something like an aura node, like sovereignty or something like that? That would be really broken. I'd be interested to see if that happens, but best case scenario, it's like an anoint from like an amulet. Worst case scenario is you get like a notable from your tree or from somewhere else in the tree, which is really going to boost up your damage and your capabilities on your character. Now, the third one here is going to be weapon modifying nodes here. So this one is basically going to add 1.5% critical strike chance to your weapon. And it's basically going to be like a watcher's eye here, which is pretty interesting. Now, we're not 100% sure if it's going to add it exactly to the base stats of the weapon. That would be the more powerful of the two cases. But worst case scenario, it's like a watcher's eye. Best case scenario, well, it's like, it's actually like having 1.5 extra base crit on your weapon. It's like a corruption. If it's the last case, then that's really strong. And also you can see here, reduced attack speed. If that's a global modifier, okay, that's not a problem at all. If it's local, now we've got a bit of an interesting decision to make. But overall, there's going to be these base weapon kind of modifications that you can have to your weapon. I have a feeling it's going to be actually exactly to the base weapon, but we'll have to see how that plays out. We've also got here, adds physical damage. If that's flat global physical damage, significantly less powerful. If it's local, well, okay, this is a big deal. Very, very big deal. And also conversion as well. This could be a pretty big mix-up and shake-up as well. Very, very cool indeed. Now, we also do have some pretty interesting global mods here, which could really shake things up. So you can see here, plus 100 strength on a one-handed weapon. So you can get this twice. But the downside is gain no inherent bonuses from strength. Well, I mean, that's not a problem if you're using an item like Crystallized Omniscience, though, is it? So a Crystallized Omniscience build could get up to 200 extra Omniscience if you used the two weapons, or if it's on a shield. That is a really big deal. And that is like so much power. Like that is really big, man. So very exciting there. You can also see stuff like accuracy stacking builds. That's pretty damn nice, man. Overall, there seems to be quite a lot of interesting stuff here. There is also stuff which directly interacts with individual skill gems within the game though. And this is the part which I think has the biggest potential to shake up that mid and end game meta. So on a less exciting note, we do have stuff, where is it? The Grace one, like this, which is going to increase the effect of Grace at the cost of making it more expensive to reserve. This is pretty interesting, but it's like not on a power level where I'm losing my mind here. But there is also nodes like this one. So this one says 50% chance to gain Soul Eater for 20 seconds on killing blow against rare and unique enemies with double strike or dual strike. So that last part there is a bit of a downer, but the effect before that is obscene. It's on a one-handed weapon, remember, so if you can get two of these, that's a 100% chance to gain this effect on killing a unique or rare enemy. Now, the best modifier on Headhunter is in fact Soul Eater, and if you could consistently get that, you would absolutely be losing it because it would be so powerful, and they've given that to us on these weapons for free. Now, obviously the downside is it's on double strike or dual strike. If it had been on any other skill, I mean, okay, we could be talking, but PoE's biggest complaint from the most people is that there is no incentive to play underplayed skills. Now, if you wanted any incentive to play either of these skills, this would be a pretty damn big one. So if we see this for other skills or, less played skills, like some of the really, really underplayed skills get really powerful ones, well, okay. We could be in a situation where when you're playing Crucible, there is some really weird builds which are just considered the best because they have the best nodes on the Crucible trees. And that would really shake up the build meta in mid and end game for the Crucible League. Now, could I see someone absolutely going crazy with Soul Eater on their double strike and dual strike build? Honestly, yeah, I could. I think that that's pretty cool. And I think that a lot of people could, try that out and have a lot of fun with it. And it would be completely ridiculous because they have so much attack speed. Now, There are, of course, other modifiers which have been shown. So far, we've also seen one for Eye of Winter as well as Freezing Pulse, which gives them a chance to poison, which is very, very strange, but, potentially powerful. Overall, that's quite cool. I'm a big fan of this kind of addition, and I can't wait to see where this goes and what all of them are going to be, or if there is one for every single skill. This could definitely redefine the meta for specifically Crucible League itself. Very, very exciting. There is also other things like increased area of effect if you have lower intelligence and stuff like that. So specific builds are probably going to get ridiculously massive bonuses from what we're seeing here on these trees. Oh my goodness, Flicker Strike and Vigilant Strike cooldowns can be bypassed by Power Charge. Look at that, you can go Power Charge stacking Flicker Strike now. This is what I'm talking about. There is pretty big potential for a mix up here from Crucible. Okay. So that's all well and good. We now understand that there is some pretty big potential here for some juice. Well, what about, how's this going to play out then, Grimro? Well, the way that's going to play out is that you're going to get, like as many of the weapon as you want to cook in terms of having a good skill tree. And you are going to go in the map and cook them all until the first point where you can see the tree, and you're just going to cycle through them as much as you can. Now, any of them which you're not interested in, which might be potentially valuable, you could try to sell. But mainly you're just looking for one which you want to use yourself. That's going to be the gameplay loop. Now, let's say that you get two which are okay, have two good nodes on them, but they're not insane. You'd really like to have a bit of nodes from A and B. Well, there is a way to do that. They have added a Recombinator for the mechanic here for the Crucible Trees. When you have two items with Crucible Trees on them that you both want the nodes from, you can actually combine them pretty much in exactly the same fashion as a Recombinator using the special map or boss map from this lead mechanic. The Primeval Remnant here, you run it, you kill the boss, and there's a forge within that map, and you can put two items into that forge and smash them together, and it's going to recombine those trees and going to give you the sum of both of those parts. So you'll have the weapon that you want to keep as well as the donor weapon up top, and they'll smash together. Now, there is actually ways to control this. Basically, there is a few ways to indicate which nodes that you want. First of all, if you have two trees and they both have the same node, there's going to be a higher chance that the resulting tree will have it, maybe even guaranteed. There is going to be a chance to have some augmentations happen, similar to in the Recombinator's case. For the most part, you should pretty much get nodes which are on both of the items on the resulting item, which is a very deterministic way to create exactly the tree you want. In addition to that, nodes that are allocated on the weapons also have a higher chance to be resulting on the recombined weapon. This is pretty cool because it does give you a way to target it as well. So overall, I imagine these are going to be quite expensive because there is insane power from these weapons. So buying or farming for these is going to be a big deal in the economy, and smashing together weapons for a best in slot base is also going to be a huge deal. So overall, already, Crucible is well worth doing it for character power, but assuming these Primeval Remnants are worth anything at all, it's also going to be well worth doing for farming and selling the Primeval Remnants to someone who wants to do the recombining themselves. Overall, pretty cool. Now, there is a caveat though. With the Primeval Remnant, you are unable to combine unique weapons unless you have the higher grade Primeval Weapon, which is essentially the Uber version of the boss of this league. The Uber version of this league map has special modifiers present on it, which will allow you to recombine unique weapons as well as corrupted weapons, which will allow you to get those juicy combined trees on all the best unique weapons. Now, overall, I expect those are going to be exceptionally expensive, not only because the map is probably going to be quite rare, but also because of the fact that you need to recombine unique weapons. So you need two Void Forges, which you've cooked with their own trees, and then you smash the Void Forges together. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. It's probably going to remove a ton of weapons from the economy overall, and I think that's probably a good thing, especially for bosses who drop those weapons and they'd like to see the value maintained. So I think bossing is going to be pretty good as a result. Now, to round it out, let me give you guys my insights in terms of currency making for this mechanic, as we've pretty much covered everything. So, first of all, you want to be cooking as many weapons as possible to, see as many options, but there's also another reason. Weapons can actually have a modifier on them which either allows them to sell for a currency, namely a Divine Orb, Mirror of Calandra, I'm sure Exalted Orb will be there as well, or sell for their upgraded version in terms of a unique. So you can see here the Siege Axe has a note on it which allows it to be sold for a unique Siege Axe. The only unique Siege Axe in the game is Soul Taker. So this would be quite profitable to cook. Now there's also other items which have a similar base to unique conversion. Namely I believe it's Round Shield, which can turn into the Squire. You can cook up round shields, and if you get that unique node, vendor it to the vendor, boom, you could get a Squire, which would be pretty insane. Overall, I think that cooking bases which you either want to use or cooking bases which can turn into uniques which you can then sell is going to be the play. Now, I'm not entirely sure which one's going to be the most profitable, but we now understand cooking and scouting as many trees as possible per hour is going to be a big deal. In addition to that, we also want to be able to fully cook items once we've identified one of those nodes as fast as possible. So we want as much of the cook juice as we can get. And also, I imagine that we also want to have the highest chance to get these primeval remnants and the higher grade primeval remnant to sell to other players looking to recombine. All right, so where did this lead us to? Well, it's actually possible to scale the amount of juice that you get in your Crucible. Well, all you have to do is increase the quantity, pack size, and map tier that you are running to get more Crucible XP. And that's basically going to be the name of the game. Doing as many maps as possible per hour with highest quantity, pack size, and map tier as you can, as it does seem to scale it. That's going to give you the most cooks, it's going to give you the most cook XP, the most map drops that you can get, and overall, the most profit from this mechanic. Now, it remains to be seen if this is going to be competitive with other mechanic strategies, but you're most likely going to have to cook your own weapons anyway, so may as well get the most currency out of it by maximizing it in this fashion. Overall, summing it up, I am really excited for Crucible. It's not the most exciting currency farming strategy, but there is stuff there for us to try out and check out and maximize. But in terms of the build potential, well, I don't think we've seen a mechanic which gives us the most potential for a meta shakeup which we've so direly needed in the mid and end game as this one. If we can see any sort of power level on any viable or semi-viable skill as the Soul Eater one, you could be in store for another shakeup similar to that as the Nimbus Kinetic Blast and Fireball one. You know, if they gave Reeve that Soul Eater buff, well, I would play Reeve. I think that that would be an exceptionally powerful build and it would be really fun to map with. I would seriously, honestly play Reeve. So overall, that's going to be my take, guys. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this and it makes you a little bit more excited to play Crucible. I think it's a pretty cool league and I definitely don't think that you're going to want to miss it if you're a build creator and someone who likes to be on the cutting edge of designing and really trying out new stuff, as it really does look like there's a lot of potential there for that. And hopefully you're ready for all the content. Until next time, cheers.